everyone, and welcome again to Leaders Uncut. And today it is my great pleasure to have with us EJ Kim, who is partner at Fleshman Hillard, and she's also co-founder and the CEO of NNABI. Hello, EJ. How are you doing today?
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I'm so excited and looking forward to you telling the world what you are doing because, first of all, you are a power woman. You are the pure example of anything is possible when you set your mind to it. And you're leading the way in transforming the world and also having a major impact on health.
Thank you. That's so kind of you.
Yeah, so tell us, I'm so curious. I love what you're doing with NNABI, of course. You know, this you always say you were creating this for you. You are impacting, you're the driving force of society, impacting the life of women between the ages of 35 and 50, mostly, right? With
Correct.
perimenopause. So that's an area that I know because I went through that myself. So many women are challenged with, and they have no understanding as to exactly what's going on. So tell us about that and why you started this.
Sure. I grew up as a business strategist. I love looking at a business, looking at brands and what is your potential? How do you be a meaningful player in the world? And those are some of the things that I've been thinking about using data and intelligence. And I think that that curiosity of bringing those data insight together about the categorical insights, about the consumer insights. I guess I couldn't help myself when I got into a place where I wanted to actually do something to help myself, my health issue, which was a hormonal balance issue that I was experiencing for years. And it was not until in my 30s that I realized that I actually had a name for it. And once I learned about what I was experiencing, I start thinking about, okay, what can I do to help myself that is natural and that is also not so invasive? And I was also spending quite a bit of money, getting myself injections and you
Mm,
name it, so the pharma route.
mm,
I'm also someone who have phobia with needles, so I don't find it fun at all.
yeah,
um, so I think for me, I've been spending a lot of money and it was hurtful and I mean, literally physically painful because I was getting shots and also the medications are not always fun, right? The
yeah,
pharmaceutical,
yeah,
the chemicals you're taking.
yeah.
But out of desperation, I took those routes and the results were not that great, meaning I wasn't really seeing anything that changed that I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I start kind of pausing. I say, you know what? I'm not going to do anything and see what happens. Let's see what my body is capable of. And that's when I actually landed on a bit of more of the botanical natural solutions that I can consider for my issue. So I've always been someone who's been very dialed up in hormonal wellness as a
Mm-hmm.
woman and as a young woman, and then getting into this phase that I'm in perimenopause. It's funny that, when you say it, like I am so happy hearing that word, but it's not the word that a lot of people talk about. At
Mm-hmm.
least now I feel like media is covering it more this year, and we're 2024 now.
Yeah.
But I started this project, passion project, 4 years ago. And when I tell people, yes, I'm working on something to help women in perimenopause, they're like, oh, you mean menopause? I'm like, no, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And the education of decoupling what perimenopause is and how that is different from menopause, we're still here. We're still educating. But what I wanted to do was, yes, I grew up with a lot of hormonal issues, find myself in midlife, learned that I was in perimenopause by accident. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I realized that, wow, if someone like me who was really dialed up in hormonal wellness have no idea what perimenopause is, then average woman probably is clueless.
Yeah, I think so. I really believe that we are not educated. People, I think the medical community is not addressing this. So we get into those perimenopausal years with the belief that maybe there is something wrong with us, or we associate this with aging and we think it's normal, when actually it is far from normal. Yes, the body's changing. Yes, our hormones are changing, but there's a natural way, or a healthier way, should I say, to address the challenges that we are experiencing, because those physical challenges also impact our mental health, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's something that was really shocking, learning more about perimenopause and really dissecting um, during perimenopause years, which could last up to 10 plus years, which is a very long time if you have no idea why you feel the way you do. But during perimenopause, your hormones are fluctuating unpredictably. And that could lead to a lot of menopausal symptoms. And I think that's where the confusion starts. In perimenopause, you're still menstruating, whether regular or irregular, you still have your periods. Once you get through that menopause, which is really one day that you haven't had your period for 12 consecutive months, we're entering the post-menopause world until we die as women. But we don't talk about this sort of distinction, right? And all the solutions are very much combining peri and menopause together. And that's the first thing I wanted to bust, the myth. Perimenopause body is not the same as menopause. But also, it's looking at the symptoms. Oftentimes the menopause is very much associated with hot flash, but perimenopause is more psychologically led. So feeling anxious, feeling more nervous, feeling irritable, and feeling tired. And then also that's associated with libido and concentration, your performance. So I think this is where, if you think about perimenopause starts as early as mid-30s, this is when women are doing some amazing things, whether they have their own business or they're in a pretty senior position and they have a team of people they're leading, and there's a lot of making happening at home and at work. And all of a sudden there's something happening that she cannot put a finger on, like what is driving her to feel the way she does. And this is when usually women go to the doctors, and then the doctors don't know any better. I think now we're getting a bit more awareness around this, but doctor will just put you on antidepressant. Oh, you feel off? You take this as if it's a shortcut. And I think, NNABI was born to let women in this cohort of perimenopause that, yes, of course, there are certain things that we're doing to our body that impacts you. But fundamentally, there's something is biologically changing in our body. We need to understand that. And chemical, that kind of short-term, quick fix solution is not it. And we want to let women understand why something is happening, because then you're more open to understanding then what can I do about it versus, hey, let me take something and just fix it. And there's this short-term fix mindset, I think, is actually hurting women more because women are more likely to gain weight during this time.
There we go.
And then they're feeling like they're not as sharp as they used to be. They used to be, we talked to a lot of women in our community. Oh, I used to do 5 things at the same time, and now I can't even do 3 things at once. What's wrong with me? That impacts their confidence, that performance and over happiness, and also them feeling, and because that's also connected to libido in a relationship department, that's also a lot of people who are in relationship or, married. That's also where a lot of questions are coming out, like, I fell out of love, or why am I not interested? And so a lot of things it's very complex time period, but I think we wanted to bring some knowledge and intelligence of front and center so that she understands that there's something happening, whether she likes it or not, but there is a way for her to really understand the science and biology, and then she can do something about it. And I think that's why NNABI was born, to make sure that we're not just living with pain and misery and the confusion, that just get over it mindset is not working. How do we help all of us do some amazing things in our lives, that you are amazing, you are great. Yes, there are some things are happening, and this is actually often called second puberty. And let's talk about it, right? Because I actually recently did a talk on the period talk versus peri talk. As a woman, when you get your period, you do get a period talk. But how many women do you think that are getting a perimenopause.
Oh, most women don't. I mean, it's really fascinating what you just explained. It's a transitional state that is impacting everything. And because women are now forced to be super women, we have to do everything. You have to be a mother, you have to be a wife or a partner, you have to be a business person so that you can prove that you participate in society in a way that is making a difference. So there's so much pressure on women. Plus, there is the change in hormones that make women gain weight. So, like you said, that it has a direct influence on self-confidence. When self-confidence is impacted, it impacts our relationships. It impacts also our overall success in the professional world. Because you mentioned that foggy minds, I've had that too, was wondering, why do I have a foggy mind? Nothing is clear
Yes.
anymore. And you think something's wrong with your brain. I mean, you just go into spaces where you don't have to go, but it's just because of the lack of awareness or the lack of understanding of the state that you are going through.
Absolutely.
So I have a couple of questions for you. It's so fascinating. But first of all, can you explain the name NABI? What does that stand for?
Sure.
That's one
Yeah,
important
let's
one, I
start
think.
there. So nabi in Korean means butterfly.
Ah.
And butterfly represents love, hope, beauty, transformation. And
Mm.
as we think about women in peri, and of course, perimenopause is a thing that we all go through as women, but really we wanted to focusing on the women, the amazing thing that women bring to this life, and happens to be in that cohort of perimenopause stage. So we wanted to really call ourselves something that really holds on to the positive
Mm.
aspect of what we are and where we are in our lives. And Nabi, the butterfly, was just a perfect because we are going through the second puberty, which is transformation. And if
Yes.
you think about in our mid 30s to early 50s, amount of things that can happen that changes us as who we are as human beings and as women.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. So we wanted to capture the positive essence and the beautiful essence of what it is, and more of a celebration that we wanted to bring versus talking about the fear, talking about the agony. Of course, we want to acknowledge that, but we are flipping the script to say, what can you do about it? You're a powerful woman. You're a badass woman. You're gonna go and make things. That's what you do every day.
Yeah.
What we should apply the same logic to your body, your health, and your well-being.
Yeah, and it's really changing your mindset, your perspectives on what is possible out there because things are changing. I think we are driving into an area of higher consciousness, higher awareness, where things that were hidden for a long time are starting to come to life. And this is why you have a lot of esoteric type of healing. You have people like you coming up with solutions that are completely different from what has been on the market for many years. You have a line of products. I'd love you to talk about this because, first of all, I love the look of it. I think it's really beautiful.
Thank
But you
you.
have the Peri Essentials 5, you have the Peri Essentials CBD, then you have the Peri Essentials package that includes both. So I think the one questions that I would imagine most women have is, where do I start? What's the process?
Yeah. So first thing first, we want women to educate themselves about what peri looks like and feels like. So we have a quiz on our website, and unlike a lot of the companies that will, you imagine you're taking a quiz and you think you're going to get the answer. Like you're either I'm in peri, I'm not. But what we really wanted to do is peri is one of those things. It's really difficult to really. There's no diagnosis. It's not an illness. It's really symptom led, and there's no one test that's going to tell you you're it or you're not, or
Mm.
you're it or you're not. So we have built up our quiz to make sure that you're understanding the set of symptoms because there are like 48 symptoms at this point. They're identified and there are more coming, by the way.
Oh.
So we want to understand like we want to help women understand the set of symptoms that you can experience. So by taking the quiz, you will associate some of the things that you've been feeling due to peri finally. So that's
Mm.
the first step, really. That's the first step.
Yeah.
You got to know your body. You know
Yeah.
your body the best.
Yeah.
And it's symptom-led during perimenopause because you're still menstruating. So while period is a big indicator because you will over time, period is such a long journey that over time your period will become irregular. That's one of the symptoms. But there are many other symptoms, psychological and physical that you're going to be feeling. So recommend that you go to the quiz and then try to understand what are the set of symptoms that happens during peri, and try to compare that with yourself, kind of how you've been feeling. That's the first step. Second, obviously you got to have a good doctor in your network and in your life so that you can really talk about it. A lot of times we hear about women getting dismissed, gaslighted, and even New York Times wrote about it a couple of years ago. Because doctors actually in the whole entire medical school, they learn about this subject like 10 hours or less, which is like,
that's it, 10 hours or less, that's it.
Mind-blowing, right? So that's wonder why we're so behind in women's health in this critical time. And if you think about mid-30s, you're not old at all, right?
No, it's the beginning of life.
Exactly.
Right?
So kind of talking about it in midlife, I think sometimes can be misleading, because I think you mentioned it earlier, it's kind of tied to ageism. And also it's tied to sexism. So at a workplace, it's still very difficult for women to talk about this. But based on our research, 4 out of 10 women in US are in peri, right? The peri women, 4 out of 10 women in peri, they are breadwinners. So if you think about who's really out there doing their part and trying to, operate a household as well as the business, that alone is a lot of pressure. As you're saying, you talked about pressure. But how do we also support this woman so that she doesn't feel alone? And some of these things that are happening, whether she likes it or not, again, it's not an illness. I think that's a lot of someone actually asked me, can I skip perimenopause? I said, well, it's part of life, so it's really hard to, you can't. So I think it's one of those things that education's first. So we are built as education first company, and we highly encourage people to understand their body, but that means you first have to understand what peri looks like and peri feels like. Then secondly, talk to a physician. If you don't have a good doctor, you feel like the doctor's not giving you any time or dismissing you, say you're too young to be in menopause or even perimenopause, then I think you need to start looking another person who can be there. And also, this is a time that breakup with your OBGYN sometimes happens, because women have been going there for annual pap smear, as you should. And then sometimes, the person delivered your baby, so you have that connection with this person, but that person the doctor may not be the best person for your peri journey. It's a different subject, right? It's related to a different subject.
But that's a very good point, something to be aware of. I'm glad you are mentioning that.
So don't feel bad, because oftentimes women feel very bad breaking up. And just don't think of breakup, but it's like thinking about the specialist. And you got to look for a specialist that can really listen to you. And there are a lot of telehealth options as well out there. So you can now Google search and see if there's anyone that's within your network, either through the insurance or if it's just like locally available, that you can stop by and talk to an expert. There are a lot of menopause experts out there now. They're coming out more so than like three years ago. So we suggest that you find somebody expert that you can talk to. Also, this is a time where you can talk to sort of the naturopath, and there are certain people who are more looking at the functional medicine. That's a good opportunity to incorporate that as well. And just, again, seeking intelligence, seeking insights, talking to some of these people who are looking at the women's body naturally. I think that's also a really great opportunity. And I said the second puberty. So this time period is so important for women to really think about reevaluating her sort of playbook, if you will. So, we talked about weight gain. That happens as a result of hormone fluctuating. What women usually do, they start going on a treadmill, running like they were in 20s, or cutting down all the calories. That is not it. Maybe that gives you that short-term kind of, relief, or that results that you're looking for. But that's actually going to be really impact you negatively in the long run. So, why women are breaking their bones, and, we can easily fall, like, things like that. It's all related, actually. This is a time to rebuild your strength and actually build your strength in a certain way. As the strength training is really important. And then also right dieting is important. Cutting calories is not it. So, and then there's a sleep. Yes. A lot of times women with many duties, she's not sleeping, she's not putting herself first. But we said the sleep getting the right sleep sheets, like, like the bed sheets, sorry.
Yeah.
Those things are also helpful. And then being very mindful of how many hours that you're actually prioritizing. That's
Yes.
important.
Yeah.
Then stress management, are you walking at least 20 minutes a day? In addition to, weight training a couple times a week and things like that. So these are all the things that are, if you think about it, not anything big, but that adds up as a playbook.
Yeah.
And this is a time for women to rethink about how to reevaluate sort of what's the strategy going forward, because you're entering sort of different stage of your life. So whatever we learn in our 20s and early 30s, if we were to do the same thing, it's just not gonna work out.
It's not going to work out. Yeah, but all of this, it's great. But I think most women would feel overwhelmed. Oh my God, I have to do this. I have to change that. I still have to exercise. I have to take care of my kids. I have to cook. I have to work. I have to clean up the house, right? It's just all these tasks. Sometimes I think when we go through those stages, it's very overwhelming. And you think, there's no way I can do it. So they give up. They give up and they become sick, and then things accumulate, and you have it's a snowball effect, and you fall into a trap that you cannot get out of. So the one thing I would like you to address, because I think it's critical, and I'm seeing this everywhere happening, I think a lot of the issues are also fixed, or maybe not fixed 100%, but most of them can be addressed with proper nutrition. I think it's a major problem, especially in these countries. Of course, nutrient supplements help, but what would you have to say about this?
Yeah, I think that we have actually done a couple of webinars with nutritionists as well, and we talk about this like new playbook, right? Nutrition is major, and this is where not all carbs are bad, not all fats are bad. So you're really, talking about the balance. I mean, the fiber is really important, because we do go through some bloating and digestive issue during this time due to fluctuating. So nutrition, finding the right kind of, balance of carb, fat, protein. So you're not really having up in one, but like really just approaching. And this is where you really need to think about what is your body look like, and what is your habit, eating habit, how you can make some small tweaks so that it's not a drastic. And that's another thing, I think, as you said, if you have to make some of these changes drastically, it's overwhelming. There are so many things you have to do. So if there's a way to, if that's a shake that's going to help you in the morning, do it. Like, you have to understand that what is it that you're intaking, so that you understand that what are you lacking. And this is where also the supplement comes in. We really do believe in smart supplementation makes a difference in our lives, especially in peri, because hormones are fluctuating. And what happens is during this time, due to hormone fluctuating erratically and unpredictably, 5 key areas of health are impacted. The 5 being nervous system, digestive liver system, your blood sugar, your immunity, and your inflammation. Those are the 5 areas that we have in mind in terms of how we can actually help restore naturally. And that's why the name of our product is Peri Essential 5, because this helps restore those key 5 areas.
Oh, now I get it. That makes sense.
Due to your hormones fluctuating erratically, whether you like it or not. So we selected the highest grade herbal ingredient that you can get. So they are all come with their own sort of peer reviews and clinically backed stats of each ingredient. So we looked at those ingredients and took about 1 year working with a set of doctors to come to our blend, the formulation. And we wanted to make sure that we're getting the right kind of ingredient. Again, if there's some ingredient you're like, we hear about people taking this herb like thousands of years, but if they do not actually have a clinically backed data, we did not use it. Wanted to make sure that we're only focusing on the medical grade quality ingredient only, and also that comes with the dosages that are studied. So that's also important. So we have the Peri Essential 5 have 6 ingredients, and if you compare to some of the ingredients that some of the companies, the products that you see, there are like 30 different ingredients in one place. You kind of wonder, how are they able to put everything in there, the right optimal dosage, right? So that's kind of also something that we wanted to make sure that more ingredient doesn't always mean better results. You want to have the highest quality. So we're banking on fewer, but the highest quality and an optimal dosage that's proven to work based on the clinical research. And that we're bringing together so that we also know that those ingredients that we chose are synergistically working together, are not going to create any interactions. And that was really important for us to get there, to provide something not only comprehensive, but it's also very much with the right dosage and then bringing the most comprehensiveness. The second SKU of the Peri Essential 5 CBD is exactly same as the Peri Essential 5 plus sub CBD.
Okay.
So that's the only difference with the CBD. The reason why we did that is when we were doing research about women in perimenopause, what they're doing currently, believe it or not, a lot of women in peri were consuming some form of CBD on a daily basis, whether that's gummy or tincture or something else, or chocolate or you name it. They were already incorporating to help with more relaxation, stress management, and sleep. So again, knowing that, we wanted to bring the most comprehensive kind that's made specifically for perimenopause. So, being a one-of-a-kind product, we wanted to make sure we're bringing the most comprehensive, the blend. So we created a second SKU with CBD for those who welcome that and who also want the extra sort of Zen factor, if you will. And then also CBD is proven to really help with inflammation. So I think those are the good stuff that we're kind of bringing it all together. And then just one last thing is the combo. So once we had two different SKUs, when we came up the marketplace, which is early this year, so really we're a relatively young brand, but what we learned from consumer behavior, our customer behavior, was that women were actually, okay, there's a team of people who are like, you know what, CBD is not for me, so I'm not gonna do it at all. So then they go with Peri Essential 5. But then there are people who love CBD, so then they go to Peri Essential 5 CBD. But then there's a new cohort, third group, that we didn't realize, anticipated, but what is this? People who are taking the regular one in the morning, and then they're taking the CBD one at nighttime to help with the relaxation and the sleep. And then also, depending on their mood or like what is happening that day, intensity of the day they're anticipating, sometimes that they're taking like replacing one regular to one CBD capsule to take the edges off. So this is where we're like, oh my God, this is, again, people are creating their own playbook. And with supplementation, we're learning this. And that's why we're providing the combo option for those who can really mix and match as they wish.
Yeah, no, this is great. So tell me, if people buy one or the other, how long does it last, and how long does it take for those essential nutrients to take effect? And when they do, what is the first thing that you would notice that, oh my God, I'm noticing this is changing. I'm seeing an improvement here. So what would that be?
Yeah. So just like anything good that we're doing to our body, we definitely ask people to give themselves at least 2 to 3 months as a base to your system. So sometimes, but what we also hear from our customers that like within the first couple of days are like, I feel it, that's good if that's, where you are. But based on our open label study that we did with a physician and 30 patients, we saw very much within 2 weeks. So 1 to 2 weeks, people are definitely feeling the effect. But in terms of the recommended period of time that you should really try this and put it as a part of your program is 4 to 6 months. Okay. So what's been really great to learn from people who been on subscription is that once you're on, you're really feeling the effect, and it builds over time, right? So that people actually are coming in as a subscription, they actually don't leave because they're feeling it even better and better the more they're actually giving themselves the opportunity and chance to stay with it. So we have a one pack is 1 month supply.
Okay.
And we ask people to take 4, the daily dosage, recommended dosage is 4 capsules. It's a very small capsule. And you can take either 4 all at once in the morning, or you do 2 and 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. Okay. And in terms of some of the You can find this actually on our website in terms of the benefits that people have been feeling from our trial and what that actually looks like. But first thing first is the people feeling more energized and feeling more calm. So that's something that we hear about, like, I'm less snappy. Because a lot of times we hear people just like, I have no patience. I'm snapping to my kids and my husband. I just don't know what's going on. And they're feeling a little bit more rounded and more calm. And then when they get to that, then I think there's a bit of that more energized kind of, the energy level they see. They're feeling less fatigue. And then the next is the brain fog. They feel like, oh my God, I was living in a cloud, like, cloudy place.
Yeah.
And they're realizing that now see the difference. They're like, I will not want to go back there at all.
Okay.
So that's, and then there's some things, a digestive issue, like less bloating is something that we hear quite often as a result of taking Peressential 5. And then we also are proven to showcase the libido increasing. The thing about libido is, is it physical? Is it psychological? Is actually very psychological. It's connected to your brain. Sex is connected to your brain and your nervous system. So it's not about your body. Of course, it's your body, but it's really connected to our mental state. And with peri, because you're more likely to be, again, anxious, and you're easy to get overwhelmed, more than any other time before. So a lot of these things impact your libido. But if you are clearing some of these things with the brain fog and then the irritability and feeling the sense of overwhelmingness, if you're kind of trying to sort that out, then it actually naturally helps with libido. But we also say that there's no one silver bullet in peri. So yes, we offer doctor-formulated, award-winning supplementation. However, the narrative that we always complement that is, please continue to adapt healthier lifestyle.
Yes.
Because without that, no pill, nothing you do is gonna ever change you. And again, you're in this peri station for like 10 plus years.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's very important. It's interesting because I was listening to a documentary this morning of someone who has been in the medical field for a long time and said that people are losing contact with nature. And sometimes it's just walking barefoot with direct contact with earth brings us so much energy and so much peace and calm that, people need to get back to doing this. I know for me, I spend an hour in nature every day. I walk in nature and it's become part of my balance. If I don't have this, then I'm not as calm or focused or feeling at peace. But I think that's very important because it's part of the overall balance as a human. Do not forget, we're coming from earth. Let's keep that relationship with earth because it's how we are grounded. And that's part of our overall well-being. What would you say to that?
I love that. And that's kind of part of the adjusting your lifestyle, that you have to find your program, but that means just walking 20 minutes, no screen time and just walking. Yeah. And you can actually do it in like a trail, like that's actually even better. But sometimes, living in a city, myself, for example, I do have access to Central Park, which is good, but not everybody has that access, daily basis. But there are some people who have their backyards or whatnot. So I love this, like getting close to nature. That is something that part of peri-care is essential. So we highly recommend that. So I think, again, as a part of, it sounds very overwhelming, but if you think about this is a new era for you, when it comes to career, relationship, your body, there's a lot. And I think this is great time too, because we're actually recording this end of December. So thinking about 2025, like thinking about kind of closing door on some things, opening door for certain things, peri-care, because this is going to be essential to kind of how we show up and how we operate. So our body, this, women are not necessarily good at putting ourselves, especially in a peri stage where you're, helping, you have your own job, but you have to take care of kids, you have your partners, you have your also elderly parents. There's a lot of things that you're taking care of and you put you last. But that's where we have to flip it, because we have to be first to take care of ourselves so that we can care for other people in our lives. And I think that's also something we keep reminding our sort of not be, we call ourselves peri babes, by
Fairy
the
babes,
way,
I love it.
because one
I
of the things
love
we
it.
wanted to do is, as a part of rewriting the narrative, we wanted to make sure that this whole taboo and, oh, it's like I'm not too old, like we wanted to show, like, look what Perry looks like.
Yeah.
Look at us, look at our group of friends, look at the fellow Perry women. And on Hollywood right now, a lot of drivers, women, are in Perry, with
Yes.
take it or they make it a big deal or not. I know that menopause is getting a lot more attention, but I also want to highlight Perry, because that is the leading up to menopause. And if we don't rely on each other, we don't remind each other how great we are. And yes, we do need help. But it cannot be a lonely experience, and we have to share. And then once you break that sort of silo and we keep sharing, then I think we have a chance in changing conversation or normalizing conversation, because we talk about that a lot. But what do you need to do on a daily basis is you own it. And of course, we also met some people who are, oh no, I'm not there yet. And I think, they are not there, but they'll get there. But also when I tell people about, hey, I'm here to talk about Perry power, how much power
Mm.
we have, all the experience on a job, and all the life experience that we have and where we are. This is amazing, extraordinary time of our lives. So why don't we really exercise this Perry power and then build on each other? So
Mhm.
that thing, people actually really love it. And then even calling ourselves the Perry babes is because we're the babes. I mean, look,
Hey,
people
you
in
know
our
what?
30s,
But yeah,
40s.
I love it. I love it. It's not the end of life. I see it as the beginning of life. It's another phase of your life. Plus, you have to think of longevity now. Humans live much longer. And we can live in maybe 10 years from now, we'll all live to 120, who knows? So all of this is going to change too. It's going to be part of the evolution of our body. And I think when we have that awareness, and people like you who are here as teachers to educate people on what truly is going on, and there is actually something they can do about this, that changes everything. It opens the doors to a new world that seems actually doable, because I think this is what we see now. A lot of people don't know. You don't know where to turn. You don't understand what's going on. And you retreat into isolation that becomes very dangerous. And as we know nowadays, mental health is a major issue. And it can be helped by communication, by opening doors to things and people like you. This is why we're doing this. This is why I'm doing this. Connecting with people like you who can share their stories, what they're doing, and how they can impact others' lives in a positive fashion, and that anything is possible. You just have to be open minded enough to address what you are going through, talk about this, because there's nothing to be ashamed of. I think it's a strength to open up and talk about what's going on. This is how you're going to find solutions. So I think what you're doing is so critical, and you're doing it in a way that's very sexy.
Thank you.
But it's beautiful, it's doable, it's affordable when you think of it, because I mean you can spend so much money in medication that's not going to do anything for you. So you have something there that I admire, EJ. It's just incredible, and I hope people will share your story, what you're doing, because it can help millions of women all over the world.
Yeah, no, I hope so, because we all need that. And
Yeah.
this is the only time I think we're the generation to bring it out, talk about it,
Yeah.
and do something about it. And I think that's where there's a lot of excitement. And also, I often talk about this, like by doing this passion project, I'm helping myself. I'm helping, a lot of people like in my situation. But also think about the next generation of women.
Mm.
You have to fight less. Imagine your daughters and your nieces, and like it just
Yes.
there's less fighting, so they can really focusing on more thriving in this great time of their lives.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great? That would be something we can do not only for ourselves, our generation, but also for next generation. And talking about kind of getting into more mainstream and more people talking about it and making it sexy, I want to share with you that actually this week we are being featured as one of the products that Vanity Fair is
Oh,
promoting as
wow, that's a big
holiday issue.
one.
Hollywood holiday issue.
Oh my
Yay!
goodness. Wow,
So
congrats.
thank you.
Wow.
In October, we
Wow.
were featuring Elle magazine. So I think that kind of like just thinking about this household name of Elle, Vanity Fair. If you think about it, that's like the perfect place for
Yeah.
company like NNABI to show up, because we're really talking about this, like, bold, confident women doing amazing things and influential. And this is where we show up, because she's not well, then there's nothing that she can do to build. And
Hmm.
we want to talk about this in a most stylish way possible, and then bring it as a part of the her conversation,
Yeah.
part about talking about her. So it's not just about health, it's about health and wellness, but we also want to, our dream is that to talk about this as a part of like who we are as women.
I love it. And the one thing that's very important, aside of, first of all, congratulations, because I think you have being featured on places like that is incredible. That's huge achievement. So congratulations. That's amazing. But I think what's also is important to understand is somebody's sexiness or attraction is not based on how they look physically. it's all
Absolutely.
it's all about their self-confidence, their energy, and their loving hearts because all of this is just spreads, it opens. It's just an energy that is so beautiful and will attract people to you. I think the idea of beauty and attractiveness has to change because you see so many superficial beings, I call them superficial beings, that are now looking more like robots or whatever, don't look human. You have to maintain your human side and understand that there are many ways of being attractive and sexy, but it all starts with loving ourselves, self-love, because
Totally.
once you love yourself, you're able to love others and positively impact their lives.
I'm so glad that you said that, because as I'm saying, talking about that, the sexiness, that is what I meant, but I think you really doubling down and explaining, I think that is the focus. So thank you for doing that. And also our ambition at NNABI is when we meet someone and say, she's so Perry, we want that to be an adjective to really talk about the bold and confident energy. There's something about that her, it
Mm.
is so attractive.
Yeah.
And that is not to your point about the external beauty. It's about you really believing yourself and your power. And that's why we talk about peri power often at NNABI. It's not about, we don't talk about anti-aging. We don't really talk about those things because it's not about that. We're talking about really believing in your power, believing in
Yes.
all the thing, your capability. And sometimes we all just need reminders sometimes. That's why we need community. And
Mm.
that's why we're creating community, a group of women like all of us to remind each other so that
Yeah.
we can continue to show up strong and believe in ourselves. And because there's nothing more sexier than, to your point, woman walking in knowing who she is,
Yes, I agree.
right?
So true, but it's true for everyone. But and not being obnoxious about it, being very humble, but being, having that assertiveness of I know who I am, I love who I am, I have my path, I'm surrounded by people whom I love, and I'm here to spread love and community. And I think you see more and more people like this, or at least people seeking to be that. And they will find ways. And you are one way. You are one door opening up to possibilities and hope.
Totally. And also we want to acknowledge that women in Perry, you are doing a lot already. And
Mm.
you are amazing. You kind of forgot your lights dimmed because of all the duties and,
Yeah.
biological things are happening to you. So you're not feeling like yourself. But we want to really just take a moment to educate her what is happening and why this is happening so she understands. But then also, hey, there's something you can do about it.
Mhm.
And, actually for one of the research learning that we did, which was like really shocking, was when we gather a group of 400 women who are in peri based on their symptoms, we asked them, what do you think some of these symptoms are happening to you? And less than one third said perimenopause. We're like, woo, kudos. You know what perimenopause is. But then what happened to the rest? They're like, oh, my lifestyle. They're blaming
Um,
themselves.
mm,
Oh, I'm doing too much. I'm stressed. I'm working too much and I have a lot of things to do or whatever, right? So
yeah.
they're blaming on their lifestyle, not contributing to something that is happening regardless. So then that changes the way also this person is approaching the problem solving, right? If
Yes.
it's
Yes.
your problem. So we want to also take a moment of that and say, yes, there are certain things obviously we should change so that we're sleeping better, we're eating better, and all the things that we can do better in our new sort of era of our time. But it's also not about just guilting ourselves. And
Yes.
I think this is also where the mental health that you're talking about is important, because during this time when women are not feeling like themselves,
Yeah.
this is when they're also dealing with some negative and toxic thoughts,
Mhm.
and it can also lead to some serious
It
consequences.
it can be very dangerous, and what you just mentioned is so important. I think it's as women we are so good at blaming ourselves. I mean, this is what we do best. I think it's an understanding. We are here to do the best we can, and we just need help around us to assist us in our growth, and this is part of our growth. So anyway, EG, I could speak about this with you for hours. It's so fascinating, and I think you really enlightened, I hope, a lot of women out there who hopefully now realize that, oh my God, I'm not abnormal, there is a way. I have now a solution. I'm going to try this because it's worth it. It's worth thinking differently about what your challenges are, and knowing that there are options that you can consider that will definitely make a difference in your life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for, having this dialogue, and really you're helping a lot of women out there who hopefully either just needed validation and or just need some outlet to even look into so that they can get some clear information, because there are so many information can be overwhelming. But really appreciate this, and many women out there, please check us out at nabilife.com, and also through Instagram, nabi.life. We're putting a lot of educational bits, so you have some of the information of why, but of course along the way, that if you find some of the natural solutions that we put together for perimenopause specifically is your thing, we will welcome to have you in our community. But first thing first, let's please educate ourselves, and then let's talk to our girlfriends and friends about it, and even partners.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, we are the driving force of society. We are. So if we fall, if we are sick, nothing else is going to be happening at home, at work. So
no, that is so true. Thank you, AJ. You are such a beautiful soul, and what you're doing is so critical. So I'm very appreciative of all your efforts. It looks like it's paying off, and it's just the beginning of an incredible journey. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.